Hello, bookish friends. My name is Gail, and I am the Fiction Bookworm. It never fails. I say the words fiction bookworm, and Nikki, like a shot, is off the couch and under the footstool right next to me. Hi. So today I thought I would do my December wrap up. I know I've already done my January TBR, and we are kind of a few days into January, but I did want to wrap up December and talk about both the books that I read and also do a little bit of a end of the month book haul. The Once Upon a Book Club Advent box this year came with 4 novels, none of which I'd heard of. Last year I did the Advent box, and I think they only included 2 books in the box, and the other were all just kind of gifts. And this year they included 4 books in the box, which I was really excited about because they do a great job at picking out books. None of these books I had ever heard of, so I don't know what to think about that. Last year, the first book that we opened was one that I had wanted to buy, so I was really excited about that. The other book was one I had never heard of and haven't read yet. And I'm not sure what to think about all of these, but we'll see. So this one is called All Is Beauty Now by Sarah Faber. I think this was the last book that we opened. And this is set in Brazil in 1962. And it's about a woman who disappears and kind of about her family and what they go through. It's set in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And I think even partly at the Copacabana, which is, like the most famous bar, I guess, in Rio de Janeiro. And I have been to Rio de Janeiro, and so for that reason alone, I'm excited about reading this book. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know when I'll get to it. Like I said, I have a lot on my reading plate, so too many books, too little time. Next book is called Secret Sisters by Joy Calloway. And this is a book set in Illinois in 1881 at, I think, what is a fictional college. I'm in Illinois and I've never heard of it, called Whitsitt College. And it's about the time when secret societies were really big. So this is fraternities, sororities. And so the woman is the first woman in the physicians program. And she decides she wants to try and create a fraternity for women, which didn't exist at the time because there weren't that many women in college. And a young man who tries to help her to form their own fraternity when there are, I think, probably already lots by men. So that sounds really interesting to me because it's in an academic setting. It's about women in university at a time when there weren't a lot of them. So I think of the 4 books that we got in the box, this is probably the one that interests me the most. The next book that I have here is called Love and Other Consolation Prizes by Jamie Ford. This is another author that I have never heard of. I didn't know anything about this book. It takes place, I think, during... So this is the World's Fair, but this is the Seattle World's Fair in 1909. So it's about a boy who works at a brothel and kind of his whole life, I think, because it sounds like, I think it's about this young couple that meet at the brothel and their life 50 years later. Anyway, we'll see. It's historical fiction, which I like, so that's a good thing. This is another interesting one. This is Christina Baker Klein, A Piece of the World. I have not heard of this book. She's also written a book called Orphan Train, which I feel like I have heard of. But this is about a famous painting and a painter from Maine. And I think on the cover you can kind of see sort of, I don't know, kind of a rendition of the famous painting. It's about a woman who is laying across a field of wheat. And so it's about that woman who was the model for the painting. It's a fictional story, I guess, of her life. So that's intriguing. I think this is going to be a literary fiction, maybe more than a historical fiction. So we'll see. I don't know. I really hope to get to all 4 of these books sometime this year. I really don't know if that'll happen, but maybe I have to come up with a challenge with some other people in the book club and see what they think. The last book that I hauled this month, at the end of this month, is by Robin Carr, What We Find. This is the first book in her Sullivan's Crossing series. I've been reading Virgin River, and this one is set in Colorado, and I've heard really good things about it. So I ordered the first 3 books. So the other 2 haven't arrived yet, but this one arrived in December. So anyway, I'm looking forward to reading this series. I've actually already read this one, but I didn't have the book, so I ordered the book, and I just started book 2, which I'm liking so far. So I have that on audio, and I ordered the book to go with it. So that's my book haul for this month. And now I want to talk about what I finished reading in December. Okay, so now I want to talk about what I read in December. Not all of them, because I did talk about some earlier, but I thought I'd pick up where I left off, which I believe was at my 24-hour reading, readathon. So at the time, I had started A Wedding in December by Sarah Morgan and The Mischief of the Mistletoe by Lauren Willig, and I finished both of those books. I really liked both of them a lot. A Wedding in December was set in Colorado about a family who hadn't really been communicating for a few months. They all had big stuff going on, but they weren't really talking to each other. And so the parents were separated and were talking about getting a divorce, but hadn't told their children. The one daughter suddenly got married to a guy got engaged to a guy that she only known 2 months, so none of her family had met him. And the oldest daughter, Katie, was a doctor, and she had been attacked by the parent of one of her patients who died, and had been through this trauma. And she hadn't told her family about any of that. So they all were just kind of gathered together for this December wedding, each kind of with their own baggage. Katie was, happy and engaged and in love, but had a lot of doubts as to whether this was moving too fast. They'd only known each other for a little while. They suddenly spontaneously got engaged, and his mom was like, hey, I'll plan a Christmas wedding. And so, she was just kind of swept along and wasn't really sure that this was what she wanted. And so they're all kind of holding on to all this baggage and not communicating. And so the book is really about how they all start communicating again and heal again in their relationships. I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I do recommend it. It was, I would say, probably about a 4-star read for me. Maybe even 4.5. It was really good. The Mischief of the Mistletoe by Lauren Willig was also really fun. It's a kind of a Christmas caper story. There's a little bit of a mystery. It fits into the Pink Carnation series that she's written. So it's about Napoleonic spies, set in England. And it doesn't fit, it's sort of an offshoot of that series. So it has familiar characters, but it doesn't kind of really fit into the whole timeline of the contemporary story. There's a contemporary story that runs through the whole series of a woman who's investigating the Pink Carnation, the League of the Pink Carnation, for her dissertation. That modern story framing story wasn't in this book. It was just kind of its own separate little thing. So it was really cute, very much, kind of Regency setting. It was tangentially related to Jane Austen, which I've been on a little bit of a Jane Austen bookathon. So that was kind of fun because Jane Austen is a character in this novel, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, I really like that one. I do recommend it. If you like books, especially that are tangential to Jane Austen, you like a good caper, you've read The Scarlet Pimpernel, you like that kind of adventure story, this was a good one to read at Christmas, I think. You wouldn't have to have read any of the other Pink Carnation books to read it. Yeah, it was fun. The other book that I read, I'll talk more about in a future video, because it was an advanced reader copy, and the book doesn't come out I think until April, but it's called Miss Austen, and it's by Jill, what's her name? Oh, Miss Austen by Jill Hornby. And I really liked it. It was very slow to start because it takes a while to build the story. The story is about Cassandra Austen, Jane Austen's older sister, and the story itself is set in 1840, which is well past when Jane Austen died, and it's told mostly in letters. Cassandra is searching for some letters that Jane had written to a friend and who had recently passed away, and she was trying to recover these letters because Cassandra was kind of famous for being the keeper of Jane Austen's correspondence, and she burned a lot of Jane Austen's letters because she didn't want people to read them. And so that's the theme of, that's the whole plot of the story, is she's gone to this house to try and search and find these letters that Cassandra wrote to this friend who had recently passed away. And the letters then become sort of like a time travel portal in which we go into a flashback. And so as she's reading these letters, we kind of flash back into parts of Jane Austen and Cassandra's life. So it was really good. I would say I didn't really start to love the story until at least halfway through, or I should say even like the story a lot halfway through. The first half I kind of just kept reading, going, okay, I hope this gets better. About halfway through it really started to get interesting. The ending, you know, much like people are saying about Regretting You, the ending, the last couple of chapters made the whole book worth it. So I'll talk more about that, I think, when I do a wrap-up video, or I'll at least remind you about that book when it comes closer to the publication date. But if you do like Jane Austen, I think that's one Jane Austen read that I feel pretty safe recommending to people. That wraps up my books for December. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know, especially if you have ever heard of or read any of the books in my book haul. I would love to get some other opinions on them. I don't know anything about them. And if there's one of them that you have read and you think that I should try and make time to read very soon, let me know. I'd love to hear about that. So I want to thank you for watching. If you like this video, give me a like, give me a follow. Check me out on my social medias. Especially check out my Instagram. I just posted some pictures of my dog today. So if you want to see the little guy who loves to try and interrupt my videos, you can see him there. So thanks, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.